Back in November 2013, the grade boundaries panned out as shown there. So you needed to get 61 on each paper, but on paper 1 in order to get a grade C, which means if you got all the more straightforward questions right up to question 10, then you only needed to pick up a few marks here to absolutely be guaranteed a grade C. So let's see how the paper looks. Question 1. The annual profit made by a company was £2,025,310. Write this number in figures. So again, the way that I suggest you do that is working from the units out. So £10, so no units, £10, 300, 5,000, 25,000, and then no 100,000s, so we got 2,000,000 and 25,310. Okay, if you had a 3 there, it would be 2,325,000, but there's no, so that's it. So 2,025,310. The number of litres of petrol sold at the filling station was 23,008. Which is written like that. Okay, so using only the numbers in the following lists. Two numbers that add up to 70. So you're looking for two unit digits that add up to give 10 or 0. 38, no. Those two, 4 and 6 do, but that's going to be 70, 80. 38 and 32, 38 and 32. The number which must be added to 37 to make 83. So you could do a little taking away sum to work that out. Okay, you can't take 7 from 3, so you have to borrow. 7 from 13 is 6. So you're looking for 46. There it is. A multiple of 6 is a number that lives in the 6 times table, and it's 42. 7 6 is a 42. Find the difference. Difference means take away. So you're going to subtract these two. 3, 4, 7, 2, 2, 8. Whatever method you like. If you want to do it by counting on, you can. 8 from 7 you can't do, so you have to borrow 10 from the column next to it. 8 from 17 is 9. 2 from 3 is 1. So it's 119. Square number that is between 80 and 90. I've just told you what it is. So the square numbers 4, 25, 16, 9, etc., etc. 9 9s are 81. So the square number between 80 and 90 is 81. All the factors of 28, all the numbers that go into 28 exactly. So you've got 1 and 28, you've got 4 and 7, you've got 2 and 14. So there are 6 of them. So marks for that question, 1 pretty much for everything. For this, 1 mark for 3, 2 marks for 6. Right, and the value of the 7 in number 46,700 bulb was gone. Sorry. Right, and the value of the 7 in number 47,361. So that is going, it's in the sevens, sorry, it's in the thousands column, so its value is 7,000. Right, and the prime number that has a tens digit of 5, so it's in the 50s or in the 150s, but in the 50s is the easiest. The first one is going to be 53. 84 divided by 6, whatever method works for you. I would do it like that. 6 goes into 8 once with a remainder of 2. 6 goes into 24 4 times, so it's 14. What fraction of the shape is shaded? So we're going to count how many little triangles there are all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16. So it's out of 16, and shaded you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 16. This question wants you to give it in its simplest form. They're both even, so you can divide by 2 and get 3 out of 8. And that's as simple as that gets. So for that we got 1 mark for 6 out of 16, 2 marks for 3 out of 8. Next question. You'll be assessed on the quality of your written communication in this part of the question. Okay, so you're going to have to explain what's happening. Megan has £8. She buys some pens at 60 pence each, and there's 80 pence left over. How many pens did she buy? So the first thing to do is work out how much the pens cost her in total. So the pens cost her, £7.20. £8 less 80p is 7.20, which is 720 pence. Each pen costs 60p, so number of pens bought will be 720 divided by 60. That's the same as 72 divided by 6, and 72 divided by 6 is 12. So 12 pens altogether. So for that you're going to have 1 mark for how much you spent on the pens, 1 mark for the division, 1 mark for the answer, which is 12, and then 2 marks for your spelling and how you've explained things. Question 3. So this is the tally chart question. 35 pupils were asked to choose which one of tennis, football, cricket or hockey they preferred. Table shows the results. So it's sport, and we've got tennis, football, cricket or hockey. So we're going to tally these. So C, T, H, C, T, F, H, C, H, 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 group in 5s, F, T, C, H, H, C, T, F, C, C, H, T, H, T, 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 C, F, F, H, C, F, H, C. Oops, sorry. Should have gone like that. Then we total them up, which is the frequency. So the first one is 8, 6, 10, 11. Should come to 35. So we check that's right now, because if it doesn't, we need to go back and check again. So we've got 20, 21, 27, 27, 8 is 35. So I know that I've tallied it correctly. And then you need to make that fit the graph. So let's take a look at what we've got. I need to make it fit the page nicely. The furthest I've got to go up is 11. It's the biggest number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. So I can go up in ones. Label your axes, so that's frequency. And then going across, tennis, sorry, let's get this on the screen. So tennis is 8. So tennis is the first one. Then football is 6. Followed by cricket, which is 10. And hockey, which is 11. Okay, now I've gone freehand there and pen. You're going to use ruler and pencil. And then the final thing I need to do is to label this axis, which is choice of sport. Yeah, sport choice, something like that. Right. Right on the mode. The mode is the most thing that happens most, so it's the one that the sport that kids have chosen most, which is hockey. Find the probability that a child chosen at random prefers cricket. So probability is a fraction. On the bottom is the total number of pupils asked, which is 35 in this case, and on top is the number of pupils that chose cricket, which is 10. It's not asking you to simplify it, so don't. Leave it as it is. So marks for that question, you are going to have 2 marks for correctly totaling up using whatever method you want. Then on the graph there'll be 4 marks, so 2 marks will be for the scale and the labels, and 2 marks will be for plotting the graph correctly. There'll be 1 mark for the mode, 1 mark for the correct number at the bottom of the fraction, and 1 for the correct number on the top. Question 4. Here's the formula in words question. Find the speed of the stone when the starting speed is 15 and the time is 4. So part A is always just plugging things in and working them out. So speed equals time, which is 4, times 10 plus the starting speed, which is 15. Do the times first and then add it together. Second part, then you've usually got to do more work. Find the time when the starting speed is 20 and the speed of the stone is 45. So speed of the stone is 45. Time is what we don't know. and the starting speed is 20. So we've got an equation there, and we need to work out what t is. So the first thing we do is deal with the add 20. We need to get rid of the add 20 by doing the opposite, which is take away 20, and we have to do that to both sides. So this side becomes that, this side becomes that, because we've taken the 20 off. 45 take away 20 is 25, is t times 10. To get the t on its own, I've got to deal with the times 10. The opposite of timesing by 10 is dividing by 10. If you divide one side by 10, you have to divide both sides by 10. 25 divided by 10 is 2.5 or 2.5. Marks for that. 1 mark for substituting in, 1 mark for the answer, 1 mark for substituting in and taking away, and 1 mark for getting the answer. Question 9. Two identical rectangles, each measuring 8 centimeters by 3 centimeters, are placed with 2 identical squares to make the shape shown in the diagram. Calculate the perimeter of the shape. Well, if this has got a length of 3, that means the squares must have a length of 3 or a side of 3 as well. So in order to work out the perimeter, we need to know all those sides. So if that is 3, that is 8, and that is 3. The distance from there to there is going to be 8 less 3, which is 5. So it's 5 from there to there, then it's 3, then it's 3, then it's 3, then it's 8, 3, and 3, and 8. So you can add all those together, or you can make life a bit easier for yourself by adding them together first, but we'll leave them like that. So if I start there, if that's my starting point, I'm going to go 3 plus 8 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 8 to get to there, plus 3 plus 3 plus 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I got them all there, I just got to add them up. 11, 14, 19, 22, 25, 27, 35, 38, 41, 49 centimeters is not the right answer. Try it again. 3, 11, 14, 19, 22, 25, 28, that's where I went wrong, 28, 36, 39, 42, 50. It's not asking you for the units, but the units are centimeters. In part B, we're talking about area. So we need to work out the total area of that. How you do it is up to you, but it's already broken up into rectangles for you. So you've got this rectangle here, which is 8 times 3, which is 24. You've got this, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. You've got this, which is 3 times 8, which is 24, and that, which is 3 3s and 9. So the total area is going to be 24 plus 9 plus 24 plus 9, which is 66. and this, you've got the units mark here, write down the unit of your answer, it's area, so it's going to be centimetre squared. So for that one, you're going to have, as far as marks are concerned, 1 mark for working out the missing sides, the 3 and the 5. 1 mark for perimeter, 1 mark for answer, and here 1 mark for your method of working out the area, 1 mark for getting 66, and 1 mark for getting the units. Question 8. Okay, so these are standard decimals and fractions. So 40%, you would write as 0.40 in pounds. And you don't need the second 0, but there's no harm in it being there. And 40% as a fraction would be 40 out of 100. And for the next one, 0.3 would be 30%, and 30% would be 30 out of 100. So you don't have to cancel them down, it's not asking you to, so you can just do it like that, and you've got 1 mark for each of those and 1 mark for each of those. Where you have to be careful is you want to write that as 3%, but remember 3% would be 0.03. Question 7. In a game, a person scores 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and -2 for a loss. Geraint plays the game 4 times. He wins twice, 3 plus 3, draws once, +1, and loses once, take 2. What's his score? 3 and 3 is 6, and 1 is 7, take 2 is 5. Mary plays the game 4 times and has a final score of 0. So for her to have a final score of 0 for playing it 4 times, that means that she is going to end up with 1 win, which is 3, 1 draw, which is 1, so that's 4, and then she's going to lose 2. First loss takes her back down to 2, and then the second loss is going to take her back to 0. 3 and 1 is 4, take away 2 is 2, take away 2 is 0. John plays the game 5 times and has a final score of -4. So he's definitely going to lose more than he wins, and he's got to play the game 5 times. So if he loses twice, he would be at -4. But if he wins once and he's going down in 2s, he won't end up at a -4. If he wins 1 and draws 1, that will give him 4 points, which means he would then have to lose 4 times, which would be, he's only playing 5 times, so it must be a draw and a draw will give him 2 points, and then if he loses 3 times it would be 2 take away 6, which is -4. 1, 2, take away 2 is 0, take away 2 is negative 2, take away 2 is negative 4. So it's 2 draws and 3 losses. Marks for that one. A method of how you've worked it out and an answer. 1 mark for what you think he's done and justifying it by showing what you've done. And similarly for this one, 1 mark for saying draws and losses, how many, and then 1 for the justification with your numbers. Equals 0, equals negative 4. Okay, estimate question. Write an estimate for the actual height of the man. So you're looking at a normal man, either work in feet or meters, but these days it's easy to work in meters. If you say that you're estimating him to be 2 meters. What you then need to do is to see how many times the height of the man fits in to the overall height of the bus. So if you use your ruler and just take a look at how tall your man is. So your man is 2 centimeters on this reduced page, which will be slightly different on the full thing. And the height of the bus is 5. Okay, so on page bus is 5 centimeters, man is 2 centimeters. So you need 2.5, so the bus is 2.5 times the height of the man. So that's going to be 2.5 times 2, which is 5 meters. So that's your estimate, 5 meters. So you've got 1 mark for your estimate of the height of the man. You've got 1 mark for saying it's 2.5 times the height, and then 1 mark for doing the maths, 1 mark for getting your answer. Question 9. ABCD is a rhombus. A rhombus is a squashed square. So these sides are all the same length. The other property of a rhombus is that the opposite angles are equal. So that angle is the same as that angle. Now that angle, that triangle, is an isosceles. So if that's 37, so is that. Okay, so triangle ABD is isosceles. So in order to work out A, so BAD, now it's not asking you to show any explanation for this, so you don't have to do what I'm writing here, so long as you just follow what I'm doing. So that angle is going to be 180, take away 74. You add those two together to give you 74, which is 106. So X is the same as that, which is 106. B, find the sides of angle Y. So you need to know that inside a quadrilateral they all add up to 360. So if you add those up, first of all, 71, 132, 126, 6, 8, 9, 11, they come to 319. So this angle here inside the quadrilateral is going to be 360 less 319. Do it by counting on or by doing the subtraction. 1 from 5 is 4, so that angle there is 41. So you're then on a straight line where the angles add up to 180. So y is going to be 180, take away 41, which is 139. Marks for that. 1 mark for the 37. So 1 mark for spotting the isosceles. 1 mark for the 106, or the method. That's the same as that. And then for this one, you've got 1 mark for working out the 41 degrees and getting the 41, and then 1 mark for getting your answer. Okay, game of chance. There are 2 packs of cards, 1 red, 1 blue. Blue has 3 cards on it, numbered 1, 4, 5. The red has that. Okay, so we're looking for the rule. The rule is the product. You should know that product is times, but there's an example, as there always is. So 1 times 3 is 3, and you can check what's going on there. So we need to carry on filling the table in. 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, 3 4s are 12, 4 4s are 16, 1 5 5, 10, 15, 20. So you have 2 marks for completing the table. Then we're going to play a game. A player win a prize by getting a score of 10 or more. What is the probability that the player wins a prize? So, probability fraction. Number on the bottom, number of possible outcomes. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How many ways are there of playing the game where the outcome is 10 or more? So it includes 10. There are 5 ways of getting 10 or more, so the probability is 5 out of 12. 60 people each played the game once. Roughly how many would you expect to win the prize? That many. 5/12 of 60. So first of all, you see how many times you can divide 60 up into 12. And it's 5 times. So that's going to be 5 lots of 5, which is 25 times. 12 goes into 65 times, 5 5s are 25. So you'd expect them to win you'd expect 25 out of the 60 people to win a prize. It costs 80 pence to play the game once. The prize for getting a score of 10 or more is £1.50. If the 60 people each play the game once, so we've already worked with that. So money in, 60 people each pay 80 pence. 6 8s are 48, followed by 2 zeros. Pence, which is 48 pounds. Money out, we've got 25 winners, each getting £1.50. So 25 lots of £1.50 would be 25 lots of £1 plus 25 lots of 50 pence, which would be £25 is 25 lots of £1. 25 lots of 50 pence is £12.50. Add them together and you get £37.50 has to be paid out in prizes. So profit will be £48 less £37.50, which is £10.50. Alright, so they're making this difficult on a non-calculator paper by making you work with not straightforward numbers in pounds and pence, but you should be able to deal with that without too much trouble, and as I've said to you many times, you'll have loads of time in the exam, so you know, leave it, come back to it, whatever, but make sure you do the maths and get it right, do the arithmetic I mean. So marks for that, 2 marks for that, 1 for the top, 1 for the bottom. Method mark for writing down 5/12 times 60, answer mark for getting it right. And for this one you've got 1 mark for either working out the money in or the money out correctly, and 1 mark for then working out the profit. Okay, then we've got a simplifying algebra question, and the way that I showed you to do this a few weeks back was to split up where you've got different letters, and remember that the sign to the left is attached to that particular group. So that first one there is 5a, there's nothing in front of it, which means it's a plus. Then we've got that there, so those are our 2 a's, and then we've got plus 3b, take b. So deal with the a's first of all. So I got 5a, so I'm at plus 5 on my number line, and I'm taking off 6, means I end up at minus 1. So it's minus 1a, or just minus a, and then I'm at 3b, and I'm taking off 1b, so I'm left with plus 2b. So just leave it like that. Each of the following equations, right, so I need to get the x on its own. It's joined by divide 5, which means in order to undo a divide 5, I have to times 5 by both sides. So if I times that side by 5, I'm just left with x. I have to then divide that times that side by 5 to get 50. For this one, first thing you deal with is the add 7. The opposite of adding 7 is taking 7 away. If you take 7 off there, you have to take it off the other side as well. So 3x is 19, take away 7, which is 12. Then you have to get rid of the 3. The 3 is joined to the x by a times, so it's a times 3 to undo. The opposite times in by 3 is dividing by 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So marks for that, 1 mark for minus 1a, 1 mark for plus 2b, 1 mark for 50, 1 mark for your solving the equation, 1 mark for getting the answer right. Question 12. For each of the following statements, circle whether it is true or false. You must give an explanation of your choice. All prime numbers are odd. Well, that's not correct. It's false, because 2 is a prime number. As it only has itself and 1 as factors. That's the mathsy answer. If you were to say 2 is a prime number because only 1 and 2 goes into it, that's fine. If you halve a whole number ending in 8, you will always get a number ending in 4. Well, that's not true either, because if you divide 18 by 2, you get 9. or 38 by 2, you get 19. So it's not always true, and you've given a counter example, so that's fine. Eleanor says, when you multiply any whole number by the one before it, the result is always an even number. Explain why she's correct. Well, she's correct because if you've got consecutive numbers, one after the other, one of them is always even. And if you multiply a number by an even number, you always get an even number. So any consecutive is the key word. So any consecutive numbers will always have an even number. Any number multiplied by an even number produces an even number. So that's what you're looking for. Right, so how is that one marked? The fact you're using 2 as an example, that is prime and is even. For the second one, correctly saying it's false and giving an example. And for the next one, saying that consecutive will always have an even number, and any number times an even number always gives you any number times an even number always produces an even number. 150. Okay, so we need to divide this by prime numbers. Ends in a 0, so 2 goes into it. Half of 150 is 75. Ends in a 5, so 5 goes into it. Half of 75 is 15. 5 goes into it 3 times. Stop there. Those are all primes. So in index form, it's going to be 2 times 3 times 5 squared. 2 times 5 is 5 squared times 3. What is the smallest positive whole number that 150 can be multiplied by to make a perfect square? So in order for it to be a perfect square, all of those powers would have to be even. I don't have to multiply by a 5 because it's already even, but I do have to multiply by a 2 to make that 2 squared, and a 3 to make that 3 squared. So the smallest number I would have to multiply it by would be 6. Method mark, an answer mark for getting that right, and then an answer mark for writing it in index form, and an answer mark for writing 6. Okay, question 14. Grouped frequency diagram. Tom collected 100 logs and measured their lengths in centimeters. The table below shows a grouped frequency distribution of his results. So as I've told you, when you're working with graphs and tables, choose a column in the table and make sure you understand what it's telling you. So we've got the length of log between 50 and 55, between 55 and 60, and the frequency. So this column here is telling me out of the 100 logs, 18 of them measured between 55 and 60 in length. On the graph paper below, draw a grouped frequency diagram to show this data. So it's measuring data, so it's like a bar chart, but because it's measuring, the bars are joined together. So between 50 and 55, there are 4. Check your scale. It's going from 0 to 10 in 10, so it's a straightforward one little square, 1 unit scale. So between 50 and 55, we had 4. You'll be drawing with a pencil. see that it's smudging for me, so I'll stop using the ruler, but you make sure you use a ruler. Then between 55 and 60 it's 18, which is there. Between 60 and 65 it's 38. Which is there. Between 65 and 70 it's 30. And between 70 and 75 it's 10. So that's what they're looking for with that, and the marks are 2 marks for the correct graph, and make sure that the bars are connected. Then there's a second part to this question. So those are Tom's logs, and this is a graph of Billy's logs. How many logs did Billy collect and measure? So we're going from the graph to work it out. So if we were going with this one, to get that number you read off the graph. 4 plus 18 plus 38 and so on. So with this one it's going to be, there's 20 logs in that first column, plus 30 logs, plus 15 logs, plus 5 plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 50, 65, 70, 75 logs. Was it Tom or Billy who collected the longer logs on average? So if you look at the two graphs, the longer logs are the ones that measure 65 to 70, 70 to 75. Okay, now Tom collected more of those. He collected 40 that were bigger than 65, whereas Billy only collected 10 which were bigger than 65. So it's Tom who collected more. And how did the group frequency diagrams, how do we decide? Because Tom's bars at the top, at the right hand side of the graph, were bigger than Billy's. Tom's bars to the right of the graph were larger than Billy's. Or you could say Billy's to the right are larger than Tom's. Okay, so 14, question 14, you got 1 for the 75 and 1 for that explanation. Okay, question 15. So we got a recipe which serves 4 people and is measured in imperial units, ounces, cups, tablespoons. Information to convert the unit is also given. So 1 cup is approximately 240 milliliters, 4 ounces is approximately 115 grams, and so on. So what are we going to do with that? Complete the recipe for serving 8 people using milligrams, milliliters and grams. So the first thing that we want to do is basically double everything. To go from 4 people to 8, we need to double the quantities. And then we need to convert the doubled into metric units. So 4 ounces of butter. For this we're going to need 8 ounces. Just wondering whether it's easier to convert these and double that. It's probably better because then we're working with smaller numbers. So 4 ounces is 115 grams. 8 ounces is going to be twice as much, so that's going to be 230 grams. 12 ounces is going to be 3 times as much, which is going to be those two added together for 12, so that's going to be 345 grams. 1 onion is 1 onion. 2 tablespoons is 30 ml. 2/3 of a cup of cream is going to be 2/3 of 240. 240, sorry. So 2/3 of 240. 1/3 will be 240 divided by 3, which is 80. So 2/3 will be 80 times 2, which is 160. So that's going to be 160 milliliters. And 3 ounces so 3 ounces, 4 ounces is 115, so 1 ounce will be 115 divided by 4, right? So if you half it and half it again, 115 divided by 4, 4 goes into 1, it doesn't, 4 goes into 11 twice, remainder 3, 4 goes into 35, 8 times 4 eighths are 32, so 1 ounce is about 28, and then we're going to multiply that by 3 for 3 ounces. Will be 28 times 3, which is 24, 6, 84. So 3 ounces of cheese is about 84 grams. So that's for 4 people. So for 8 people now, we need to double that. So when we double that, so double quantities for 4. So we've done all the hard work. 115 times 2 is 230. 230 times 2 is 460. 345 times 2 is 690. 2 onions, 60 milliliters of stock, 320 milliliters of cream, and 168 grams of cheese. Tamara has half-litre carton of cream. She has large quantities of all the other ingredients. Calculate the largest number of portions of pasta with cheese and asparagus sauce that Tamara can make using as much of the cream as possible. So half a litre of cream is 500 milliliters. So 100 milliliters of cream, 100 and she's got 500 milliliters, so 8 people need 320. So the amount of cream per person, so if it's a 1-person recipe, would require 320 divided by 8, which is 40 milliliters of cream. So a 1-person recipe requires 40 milliliters. So now what we want to do is to see how many times 40 goes into 500. Because that's how much cream we've got. Well, 500 divided by 40 is the same as 50 divided by 4. 50 divided by 4, half it is 25, half it again is 12.5. We can't have 12.5 of a person, so 12 people. Okay, so the marks for that question, you get 1 mark for the 230, 460, 690. You get 1 mark for the 2 and 60. You get 1 mark for the 320, and you get 1 mark for the cheese. And then for part B, you get 1 mark for working out that each person is going to need 40 milliliters of cream. And I've lost where I am. 1 mark for the 500 ml, so 1 mark for turning that, 1 mark for that, 1 mark for working out the 12.5 people, and 1 mark for then saying that's 12 portions. Question 16. Martha is laying out a new design for a flower bed in her garden, as shown in the diagram below. Calculate the size of angle X. So we've got parallel lines. When you've got parallel lines, everything that's happening on this is exactly the same as what's happening on that. So if that angle there is X, that means that angle there is X. And if that angle is X, so is that angle there. So if I can get into that triangle, I'm in business. I know that that's 105 and it's on a straight line. So that angle there is going to be 180 take away 105, which is 75 degrees. So I know that that is 75, I know that is 50, so X is going to be 180 take away 125, that plus that, which is 55 degrees. So you got 1 mark for working with the 75 degrees and 1 mark for getting the answer right. Martha has another flower bed in the shape of a parallelogram. The longer sides measure twice the length of the shorter sides of the parallelogram. The perimeter of this flower bed is 24 meters. Right, so let's draw it. So we've got a parallelogram. So it's a wonky rectangle. The longer sides measure twice the length of the shorter sides. The perimeter is 24. The length of one of the shorter sides is Z. So that is Z and that is Z. Which means these, because they're twice the length of the shorter side, will be 2Z and 2Z. And the perimeter is the distance, if I start there, all the way around the outside. So z plus 2z plus z plus 2z is the perimeter, and it's telling me that the perimeter is 24. 1z plus 2z is 3z, 4z, 6z is 24. To get the z on its own, it's joined by a 6, which is times by 6, so I have to divide both sides by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So one of the shorter sides of the parallelogram is 4. One mark for that, 1 mark for getting 6z is 24, 1 mark for the answer. And the final question on this paper. Manilo won some money. He gave each of his close friends 1/24 of the money he won. He kept the remaining 2/3 of the money for himself. How many close friends does Manilo have? So if he's got 2/3 of the money, that means he gave away 1/3. Now, if I can write 1/3 as an equivalent fraction of 24ths, I will know how many of his friends he had. 3 goes into 24 8 times. So if I multiply my fraction by 8, I get 8 24ths, which means he gave 1/24 to 8 different people. So he has 8 friends. 1/24 plus 1/24 plus 1/24, 8 times. So what we're doing here is seeing that he's given away the third, worked out that he's had to write it in 8/24, and got the answer of 8. So again, up towards the end of there were some quite tricky questions, but as long as you got the early stuff right, you don't have to worry about some of the harder stuff that's up there.